Okay, everybody, happy Saturday. This is our recap time of the week. Thank you all for joining. And let's jump in. Like usual, we don't waste any time. So first, there's a lot to cover because a lot happened. But the markets really didn't do anything. That's kind of the amazing part. But let's go. First of all, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to amplify your intelligence. AI, IA, get it? And it is also, as we've been talking about for many months, August is normally not good, and it was not as bad as people expected. Now, September typically can be nasty, but it's good if it's nasty early, and then it can be really good. So you got to be ready to pop with those rifles as we go. But remember, after Rectember is October. So not long left. And I think September is a short month. So, and by the way, happy holidays to everybody in the US. That's celebrating, I think, the Labor Day weekend or one of those weekends. Anywho, I'll be here every day. So, and of course, now this is investment advice. So let's look at the chart first of Bitcoin. We have this model called layer in, layer out, the layer model. And you can see here how it really identifies kind of support, resistance levels, snipe levels, etc. But if you look at it now, literally 25,751, and we are at 25,777. So it is right there. We're just above that little layer, and we'll see if it holds. And also what used to be support of 27.5 could in fact become resistance as well. So I do expect us to top around in this little area over the coming weeks. And if something nasty happens in September, we might get another bite under 25K. But looking at accumulation of crypto right now, that is looking more and more unlikely as we go forward. So let's look at why. So first of all, these are the number of Bitcoin addresses holding more than 10 Bitcoin, and it's growing fast. It's going up and to the right, and the number of addresses now holding more than 10 Bitcoins just reached a 3-year high of 157,324 people. Of course, many of these people have multiple wallets, so it's not even then. DGen, thank you so much. Now let's look at the other side of the coin. What about the miner outflow? So the miners are actually... I did a mining video yesterday. I'll add it here for those of you interested in miners. Miners are a fantastic play for these proxies. But you can see I did cover yesterday the miner outflows, and it grabbed some questions. So I thought I'd share this chart. This is the miner outflow volume in the 7-day moving average. And you can see it is running at about 72,000 Bitcoin. And that is a 9-month high. So yes, the miners are dumping their Bitcoin as quickly as they can because they know they got to gear up with modern equipment. So they're selling right now as much as they can to ramp up and scale to compete with the leaders in the space. Now, let's look at the other side, the 10 Bitcoin. These are the ones with less than 10 Bitcoin. A big thank you to Sanjay for sharing this chart with me. This is the percentage of Bitcoin held by entities with less than 10 Bitcoin. And you can see it continues also to reach new highs. And this has been up only for the entirety of its existence. So obviously, retail keeps stacking, which is wonderful. This improves the distribution over time, and it's a very positive structural trend. So we like to see stuff like that. And back to spot ETF news, if you're not sick of hearing about spot ETFs. Well, this is the former SEC chair. His name is Jay Clayton. He said, approval for a spot Bitcoin ETF is inevitable. Thank you, Solar, and thank you for sharing that lovely story earlier, and thank you for being here since I was at 3,000 subscribers. And Sanjay is our head of research from Abandoned Baby. Thank you for all the great questions. So as I said before, it's nice to get that point of confidence in Jay there as well, that the Bitcoin approval will happen. It's just a matter of time. So that is awesome. It's a certainty. Now, switching gears, let's talk about a bit of Solana news. This was an unexpected statement out there regarding the founder of MakerDAO. He expressed his admiration for Solana. The founder of MakerDAO made very positive statements about Solana in a message he published in a forum within MakerDAO. But what did he say, and why is it relevant? And again, his words kind of paraphrased from this forum post. The key points the founder made was he expressed admiration for Solana and its potential to form the basis of a new chain, which is a new blockchain proposing replacing the Maker protocol. So they want to flip, just like all the other DPIN plays, they want to move to another blockchain themselves. And Solana's technical quality and optimized code base were highlighted as significant strengths, designed with a knowledge of blockchain bottlenecks and challenges. Also, he spoke about Solana's resilience, particularly demonstrated during the FTX crash, emphasized a testament to its thriving developer community and long-term viability. And the MakerDAO founder noted that its resilience contributes to lower development and maintenance costs and ensures access to high-quality talent for Maker. Jeff Hammer, good to see you, buddy. Now, also the adaptability of Solana's codebase for creating app chains, exemplified by the Pyth network, for example, was cited as another key advantage. Pyth is kind of like the oracle for Solana chains. And also Solana's flexibility and adaptability were seen as crucial factors in meeting the needs of new chain for MakerDAO. So again, it's not reflected. A lot of good news out there, things like Solana happening behind the scenes, things like Tesla, but I mean, Tesla had probably the biggest week ever in its history, and the price went down. So that's just markets for you. Anywho, there was another reaction, though. This is Vitalik Buterin. Doesn't look too happy there. Vitalik, and a lot of respect for Vitalik as well. He said a lot of good things about the Solana chain, but he did sell his MakerDAO positions valued at approximately 350 ETH or $600,000 on a DEX. He transferred the received ETH to an address with over 1 million in assets, including another 400 or 500 ETH and various ERC tokens. And Buterin is a very early investor, by the way, in MakerDAO, and he just sold his bag. And it happened to be right after these comments. So the exact reason behind Buterin Maker's sale is unknown, but it is very coincident with exactly what the MakerDAO founder expressed: admiration for Solana, moving away from the ETH chain. So chain wars continue, and who knows what's happening. Anyway, speaking of chain wars and China and lots of C's, China contradicts themselves in crypto. A Chinese court ruling recently challenged, this is all the news from last week that you may have missed, but it's very, very important. But the court challenged the China past anti-crypto stance, stating that virtual currencies shouldn't be deemed illegal at all. Instead, they should be treated as property under current law, with criminal cases involving virtual currency proceeds considered a case-by-case basis. And this marks a huge shift from China's previous cryptocurrency bans. So we'll see how that develops. We know there's a lot of steps now happening in Hong Kong. They're moving down the crypto path in a quick way. I think that's the proving ground for the rest of China to move into crypto as well. So again, like everything else, it's an inevitability. Let's talk about some other news. Near, their daily active users, you know, we monitor this daily. Their daily active users exploded to 464,360 daily active users. It has never been so high. At least I haven't seen it so high in a very long time. Ethereum at 333, Polygon 320, and Solana 253, and the rest you can see down below. There's also some moves as well with some of the other ones. You know, Aptos was high and then it fell down. Arbitrum was over 300,000 and it fell down as well. So it is a moving target like everything else in this space. But why did Near pop so much? Well, they have something Orwellian, I think, going on as well. They have a I Am Human platform that offers various soul-bound tokens, SBTs as they call them. So you can verify your identity on the open web or the blockchain. It sounds a little bit like WorldCoin. And I'd be very careful of that. Anyway, that is what's driving a lot of people looking to identify themselves, opening up their wallets, and driving activity on Near protocol. Pretty certain of that. So in addition, that hasn't showed up yet in fees. When we look at the daily fees for Near protocol, it's still running at $1,500, which, as I mentioned in my recent fees video, which caused some consternation across some of the armies, it's just data, everybody. Don't get upset by it. But the Near protocol fees have not popped on all of this activity, which I question. So I'll monitor this carefully and maybe touch on some of the fees again later next week. And you can see Ethereum is still the big daddy, 3.8 million in fees a day. Bitcoin 680,000, Binance 265,000, Solana number 4. These are all layer 1s, by the way, 41,000. And some layer 2s like Polygon 2, 21,000, Cardano at 4,400. So that is the near news. And again, sometimes you get these flash in the pan type events that drive a lot of activity, and a couple of days later it's gone, it dissipates. So watch for that, but it's good to see it's scaling. Now, switching gears, there's a lot happening in the BEV revolution. We've got a number of revolutions happening at the same time right now. One of them, love it or hate it, battery electric vehicles are exploding in popularity, and BYD and Li Auto break sales records again as there was pent-up demand for EVs in China. And remember, the Chinese economy is not that strong, but the demand is exploding. And this leads me to a Bloomberg article, and it talked about kind of the tipping point of EVs. And a lot of people think it's just a fad. It is not a fad, and the data points to that. And I'll share some data in a second. But BEV Boosters On, I call this one. 23 countries have passed the tipping point. 5% of new car sales are now fully electric, not hybrids, fully electric, according to the Bloomberg analysis here. And this is very important because it takes a long time to get to that 5%. Once you hit that 5%, well, things change very quickly. Excuse the crude little graphic here, but kind of nothing happens for the longest time. It bounces along and goes flat. And then you get a holy cow moment. And then as you get to kind of 85% plus. So if you look at the countries on the right, you'll see the top 23 countries and their tipping point at the 5% level. Norway, the first time they hit EVs penetration of 5% was 2013 Q3. And within 5 years, they hit 50%. Now they're at 82.1%. You've got Iceland, 40%, Sweden, 38.6%, Finland, 33.5%, Denmark, 32%, Netherlands, 31%. What is it with Scandinavia and the Netherlands? They're always very quick at adopting stuff, whether it be crypto or BEV. So watch this as kind of an indicator as to where things go in the world. You got Ireland, 25.7%, Switzerland, 20%. I would have thought a place like Switzerland that's very big on pollution would have had them first. But anyway, who knows? And then down the line, you see Germany, 17.5%. And this is a rude awakening for many of the big legacy German car makers. Now they're all scrambling to get their BEVs out. China, 16.8%. And the US, 7%. US is still very small. But if you go to a place like California, it's already 25%. So they consider California like its own separate country, but the rest will follow. Now, why is it important? Well, that tipping point, again, once you hit that 5%, it goes vertical like we've covered. And there's tons of evidence around this. I won't bore you to death. I just shared you all the numbers. But once they hit that 5, the next 5 years, as I say, goes up to 50%. So you go from 5 to 50 in 5 years, and that is what is going to radically change the world we live in many countries, especially across these top 23 countries. That will upset a lot of legacy car makers, a lot of legacy service operations, and just the way kind of the world turns in a big, big way. And 5 years from now is 2028. It could even go faster, especially if you look at the value prop of things like the new Tesla Model 3. With rebates, it is cheap, and there is no car that has anything like the features and functionality and safety and performance and efficiency that this car has. It is mind-blowing, but again, nobody gets it. Nobody talks about it. And speaking of electric stuff, I know people will groan. It's like, trucks, they can't be electric. Well, guess who's ahead of the curve? Tesla, again, ahead of the curve, ahead of the game regarding electric trucks, because California and many other big cities now are banning diesel trucks. There is a thing called the CARB, California Air Resource Board, I think it is. And they are planning to prohibit drayage operators starting next year for nearly all package delivery. And in full disclosure, I didn't even know what drayage was until last night. Drayage operator is somebody who provides kind of short-term logistics. Think of, I think it's less than a 10-mile trip. All of those vehicles are going to be electric in California, which is the 5th biggest economy in the world. And that is kind of an indicator as to where things are going forward. Anywho, back to business. Let's look at a little bit of macro here because this impacts Bitcoin and crypto and risk assets. The Fed is done hiking per the Northman trader. He said the unemployment rate kicked up to 3.8 and it's just beginning to accelerate. We saw a ton of data last week about this. And he believes that we are closer than ever to this cycle of being over from a hike perspective. The Fed's mission was to loosen the labor market. Fed speak for making people lose their jobs. And it's taking shape. And the operative question is the length of the runway before it starts cutting rates. So I think we're going to have something big happen, something will break, rates will be cut, money will be printed. It's there. But more crazy than anything else is this. And this is happening not just in the US, it's happening all over the world. Okay, people think they're earning more. They're not. And therefore, they're not paying as much taxes. A beautiful chart here from Econometrics. You can see here, the US is now spending $1 trillion in interest on debt, but tax revenues are declining and only $3 trillion. Do the math. 1/3 of tax revenue goes to the government paying the interest on their debt. So do you think this is sustainable, ladies and gentlemen? No. Something has got to break, and it will be QE to infinity. That's it. And speaking of the debt and interest rates and everything else, oil is up 18% year to date. It's $86 and it's heading for layer 6, complete breakout. Of course, oil drives all manners of inflation out there, ladies and gentlemen. Oil is used in the production of many materials, the manufacturing of everything. It directly impacts the cost of production, transportation for goods and services, leading to higher overall prices in the economy. Okay? So again, this fellow on the right does not control inflation. Watch oil. That shows you where inflation is going to go. So could this mean the Fed hikes more? Well, yeah, they could, but then they're just going to explode deficits even more. It's just, none of this is sustainable. It's insane. Anywho, back to banks, who many of the small banks are struggling, but the big banks are getting bigger and bigger. So what's going on there? Well, we know why that is. But here you see the second largest Euroland bank is now UBS after HSBC, which it could be arguing, is HSBC really European? Is it British? Or is it what it stands for, Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation? It has its feet in China to a large extent. Anyhow, enough of that. But you can see JP Morgan Chase, massive company, market cap nearly $500 billion, Bank of America $231 billion, HSB 147, Morgan Stanley, etc. All of these banks are getting bigger because the smaller banks are getting smashed again by this and this guy. And maybe it's all a plan. Who knows? We'll find out soon. In addition, some people, and again, thank you, Sanjay, for sharing this. I've never spoken about the C word before, but this is an interesting correlation too. The retail price of C has remained stable at about 50 euros per gram for several years, and the purity, the quality has increased. And the reason they know there's more of this out there is wastewater analysis showing cities in places like Belgium and the Netherlands are those with the highest concentration of C-laced wastewater across Europe. So as people do all sorts of things, I don't know, that's shocking. Do not touch this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. But it's on the rise, especially in Europe, which surprised me too. I think in places like San Francisco, they prefer fentanyl from China. But anyway, what do I know? And rest in peace, Jimmy Buffett. He said, if we couldn't laugh, we would all go insane. Very profound statement. May he rest in peace. He died. So with that, everybody, thank you all for being here. Happy weekend. And don't forget to hit the like on the way out. I appreciate that. And I'll see you all tomorrow for the big week Q&A, where I take all the top Patreon questions from the week, and it gets harder and harder. So I used to be able to start preparing that on Saturday night. Now I got to start on Friday night to get it all done. So thank you all for being here. Be safe, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow morning. Same time, same place. Bye.